One of the biggest sources of anxiety for entrepreneurs is understanding the legal challenges, risks, and obligations that come with starting a business. Many entrepreneurs know that if you take a wrong step, it could lead to a fine, it could lead to losing your company to investors. There's many negative legal consequences. We've all seen the stories, we've all seen the TV shows. My name is Liam, and I'm a lawyer, and I help entrepreneurs overcome those legal challenges. Today, I'm going to be talking about 5 tips or tricks to help you get your business off the ground. The first major decision that you're going to need to make when you start your business is selecting the right type of legal entity. The entity that you choose will determine the amount of paperwork, taxes, and liability that you and your business are responsible for. When you plan to start a business, you need to consider a variety of factors. These include the cost of formation, liability protection, and taxes. The most common type of legal entity for startups is a limited liability company, or L.L.C. In the United States, there's also corporations, most commonly a C Corp, and both of these structures will provide personal liability protection for the owner. This means that if the business is sued, the owner's personal assets, such as their home, car, and bank accounts, are protected. Another option is a sole proprietorship. This is the simplest and least expensive form of business. In a sole proprietorship, the business and the owner are legally the same. This means that the owner is personally liable for any debts or lawsuits that the business incurs. So if you get sued by a customer and all the profits, everything the business owns, can't pay the customer back the amount they win in the lawsuit, they can take your home, your car, any personal assets you own, even if you had them before you started the business. Make sure to keep that in mind. The second, if you have a co-founder or partner, is to make sure that you have a written agreement that outlines the roles, responsibilities, and expectations of each party. A founder agreement is what's used in startups. It's a contract between 2 or more co-founders that sets the terms and conditions of their business relationship. The agreement typically outlines the capital contributions of each founder, the ownership stakes of each founder, the roles and responsibilities of each founder, and any exit provisions. The agreement should also detail the company's decision-making process, including how decisions will be made and who has the authority to make decisions. It's important to consult a lawyer if you have the opportunity to, and you have the financial means to make sure that everybody understands their rights and obligations under a founder's agreement. The agreement also should set forward the company's intellectual property rights, including who owns the inventions, designs, and trademarks of the company, especially if you invented something before you register the company. Finally, the agreement should set forward any restrictions on the founder's ability to compete with the company or solicit its employees or customers if a founder decides to leave, or even simultaneously, you don't want your partner setting up a competitor. Third, if you're going to be hiring employees, you need to create an employment agreement that outlines the terms of employment. It's vital that you have employment contracts in place. These agreements should outline clearly the terms of employment, including job duties, salary, benefits, and whatever other important information that you feel needs to be in there. An employment agreement is a legally binding document, so it's important to make sure that you fully understand it before signing. When it comes to compensation, the agreement should include the following: the rate of pay, bonuses, overtime pay, and any other forms of compensation. It should also outline any benefits. These could include vacation days, health insurance, and any other perks. The contract should also include the terms of the employment, such as the grounds for termination, non-compete clauses, as well as the rights of the employee, such as the right to privacy or the right to safe working environment. It's important to make sure that all of these terms are very clearly outlined in the employment agreement so that both parties are aware of both their rights and their obligations. Fourth, if you're going into an industry that has industry-specific regulations, you need to be intimately familiar with them. In many industries, including crypto, finance, legal tech, AI, there's very, very specific regulations that need to be followed. And when you start a business, it's your obligation to make sure that you're aware of all of these regulations and have systems in place to deal with them. Very basic ones that will apply to almost every single company include sales tax, privacy policies, terms and conditions, and terms of use. Finally, intellectual property is so overlooked. You need to register any intellectual property with the relevant agencies. First, let's define what intellectual property is. IP is a term used to refer to creations of the mind. Obvious ones are music, literature, and designs. But they also include stuff like code. This is vital to your business, and you need to understand that this is intellectual property that you need to protect. Your IP can be protected by registering it with the appropriate government body. For example, if you're in the United States, you need to register a trademark or a copyright. You can go to the United States Patent and Trademark Office. It's also important to understand different types of IP protection that are available. Patents protect innovations, so new technology. Copyrights protect original works of authorship, things like code and writing. Trademark protects logos, symbols, words, things that are associated with your brand and differentiate your brand from a generic brand. When registering your IP, make sure that you have a detailed description of your invention, work, or brand. This is going to help the registration process go more smoothly, and it will also help you to file internationally if you do decide that you are going to do that. If you are going to be selling your products or operating internationally, it's always a good idea to make sure you have international protection. Finally, make sure that you keep records of all your IP. Make sure you have a detailed log of all the steps you've taken to protect your IP, including registration and licenses that you've obtained, and that you catalog all IP as you're creating it. This is to make sure that the people who are actually creating the IP, the freelancers, the employees, have all signed over the intellectual property rights to you so that your business owns the IP that it is purporting to use. You don't want to end up in a situation where an employee or a freelancer has a gun to your head because you're using something that they own. These are just a few of the legal considerations that you have when starting a business. There's many more, so stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and we're going to go through all of them in time. But these are the 5 that I think are most important when you first start a business. Before you do anything, you need to sit down, you need to consider these things. Because if you don't, there's a good chance that you might err on the wrong side of the law, and that can cost you your business.